Welcome back to American Arms Channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Drake. Today we're going to be taking another look, after a long time, at the Aero Precision Solus Bravo. This particular one is the 22-inch Sendero barrel in 6.5 Creedmoor and is in the KRG chassis/stock system. I have absolutely adored this rifle since I received it for my birthday about a year and a half ago from my wife, and while it's not perfect, I think it's a pretty dang good rifle overall. It has a pretty well-rounded feature set and capabilities that are very much welcome in the market. Now, today is not going to be a long-form review, just a touch point on what I've learned about the rifle and checking in on its condition. I have to date 637 rounds through the rifle. I have dedicated a notebook to its performance. I keep all sorts of information on it every time I go out, as well as captures of some of its better groups and its performance with different hand loads. This has shot very few, if any, factory loads through it, and that will change in the future as I perform some more accuracy sampling out of the rifle. But if this is too long didn't read for you, just know that this rifle, performing for me with the hand loads I've been putting in it, pretty consistently seems capable of sub 3/4 MOA. So sub 0.750 MOA or inches there, roughly at 100 yards. I've shot this rifle at a little bit longer range, at least for myself personally. The furthest shot I've ever taken is about 702 to 705 yards, if I remember correctly. Been making consistent hits with it, either on a range session out to 622 yards. It definitely is capable of sub-MOA accuracy and consistency. It's all going to come down to the specific loads that you put in it. And when I put not so well assembled hand loads in it, just throwing them together on a Hornady lock and load progressive press just to have some range fodder for fun, it still has printed them very well, all things considered. So I think the rifle is a great value. I think it's got a lot of potential for the builder and the outright assembled rifle purchaser. But without further ado, I'd like to talk today a little bit about the round count, the wear and tear we're seeing on the rifle as it's sort of got to the broken-in point, some of the general accuracy that I've found with it, as well as, again, reviewing some of that general performance. So now that it's out of the way, and those of you that don't want to see the long-form version, we'll get right on into it. So to kick it off, like I said before, 637 rounds through the rifle, and it has been very, very enjoyable. I think the KRG stock is a pretty nice stock. Are there better ones out there? Yes, but for the base option, this heavy barrel Sendero 6.5 Creedmoor variant of the Solus is very much welcome. There's a very large, or maybe not large, but substantial product line now with the Solus rifles, whether completed or as a barreled action or a kit, whether you just get the action. They've got quite a bit supporting it, and eventually we might see a long action version in January, February 2024. That wasn't announced, but we have yet to see it as of the recording of this video. So we'll see what happens. I'd love to have one of these in 300 PRC. But 6.5 Creedmoor will do for now, and honestly, it's a fantastic cartridge for general purpose use. But as far as round count goes, I've had no issues. Small little bobbles here and there, like feeding the 160 grain Hornady round nose loadings, but that, I mean, if you run the action smoothly, it'll be just fine. The action has been incredibly smooth out of the box, and only gotten better as time and round count has gone on. So over a round count, I think that this has done pretty well. Obviously, 637 is not a high round count. We've not burned the barrel out of it. We're not doing anything crazy. It takes a while when you're loading all of your own cartridges and you're just going out on the weekend to shoot. So not a high round count, but it's done well so far. Accuracy has been very good. As I noted in the beginning of the video, this is about a 3/4 MOA less rifle. It really depends upon loading. I've seen it as low as half MOA, but it usually sits around the 0.55 or 0.75 grouping, and doesn't matter whether I'm printing 3, 5, or 9 shot groups. That is generally the function of it. And typically, if I slip rounds outside of that group sizing, I've either got the barrel way too hot, or I'm not shooting so well, and groupings across the rifles on that range session are more open. We all have bad days. I'm not a particularly great, amazing shooter. I wouldn't call myself a precision shooter. I'm a competent shooter. So the rifle is most likely more capable than I am, and paired with the right load, I'm sure it can get below half MOA averages. But for right now, what it's doing is more than acceptable for 750-yard in work, as long as I'm shooting well and all other factors considered. Part of that accuracy I'd like to share with you is a continual capture of what the rifle is capable of. Now, I have added suppressor, and the suppressor has seemed to help the general group sizes over time. Here's a good example of what the rifle will do just playing with it. That's 4 shots. That's just under an inch. There's a little bit of stringing. That's all me. The barrel was super hot. The suppressor was just smoking. And it still printed sub-MOA at 100 yards. Here's a hot barrel, and I pulled 1 shot, 3-shot group, putting it just over an inch, right at 1 MOA, just a touch over. That's just plinking. It's very easy to get this done with some surprising accuracy. So I do have a little bit of variance between first, second, and third shot here. This is 143 grain ELDX and Superformance powder. That is very consistent overall, and 2 rounds touching. Here we've got one where I pulled it, same kind of thing, group sizing, absolutely excellent. Then lastly, here's a beautiful little 3-shot triangle, all on the same range day, as you can tell by the paper. I've got the dates noted on there, but that's just some of the most recent shooting that I've done in the past couple of months, and it's very consistent. While it may not be quarter minute of angle, I don't expect that out of this rifle. I expect the capability to be sub 3/4 MOA that meets my expectations. I think that this rifle, with the right load and with a very well-practiced shooter, can definitely be a sub-half MOA rifle. I just don't know how consistent that will be across the life of its barrel. The great thing is about this action, though, is that it is a proof prefix. You can pretty quickly spin that on with the tools that you can purchase from Aero Precision for this rifle. So all in all, it's an excellent setup and is tunable to your needs. That covers accuracy in a nutshell. Accuracy and general grouping capabilities is a loaded question with rifles and shooters. That's just a little point of note. I'm not getting into the weeds like crazy with it. I just wanted to show you guys that I am capable of putting together some okay to very good groups with this rifle. I think it is capable of doing better. I am capable of doing better as I practice more and we find the right load. But just throwing together a hunting load, that 143 grain ELDX, those were just 3-shot groups, just playing around. But those are more than capable of killing a deer well past any range that hunter has any business of doing so. So the rifle is definitely a capable rifle from a practical use standpoint. Probably from a precision shooting standpoint, if you're getting into that game, that would also work well for that. But just know that if you're looking for custom level rifle performance, I don't think this is your rifle. It's a great rifle. It's a really awesome out-of-the-box tool, but there's no reason to look at it like a precision, custom, hand-fit, hand-lapped rifle that you expect quarter MOA or less groupings out of for the first 500 rounds of its barrel life. So with that, I digress. Next, we're going to take a quick look at the internals of the rifle, which there's not a lot of, but I do really enjoy the ease of takedown of this bolt. So we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at its condition after 637 rounds, and we will wrap up with some final thoughts. So if you've not seen the Solus action demonstrated before, this will be new to you, but it is a 60-degree bolt with a 3-lug bolt. It is pretty smooth, especially with one lightly lubricated. I'm going to remove the magazine, of course, and typically you would need to lower your piece if it is in the way of bolt travel in order to remove it. There is a button here on the left-hand side of the receiver. You're going to push that forward and in, and it will allow you to remove the bolt, but you're going to hit a stop here. Well, you don't have to do that because the quick takedown feature of the Solus's bolt group means that you can turn it to the right. It will dislodge from the body of the bolt. Your striker assembly will come out, and now you can remove your bolt body. As we can see, there are some wear marks. Some of it has gone into the white. This is a nitride finish, high gloss, very, very nice. You see our sliding plate extractor, and we have extractor side ejectors that actually provide continuous force on the cartridge case so that it does have a pretty positive ejection, and I very much have enjoyed that. I think that's a very smart design feature. I've seen it criticized before by folks, but I don't know that those folks really know what they're talking about, other than they just don't like the fact that Aero Precision came out with a PRS style rifle, which I think this is more of a general purpose rifle than anything. This is a very early production rifle. This has the 57 as its last two digits of the serial number and all zeros before it. And so there's really not a whole lot of folks to say I have an early production one. I did get one of the first factory rifles. So there may be changes later on. Just keep that in mind if you're comparing yours to mine. There might be some slight changes, but nothing functionally has changed as far as I understand. Next, you can simply take the front side of your striker, your firing pin here, and give the one-way tapered pin, index pin here, push through, and just like an AR, your bolt head comes out. And there's your bolt body. There is nothing to write home about it. Again, you can see there is some wear and tear here, but it's nothing that's impacting the function of the rifle, and as that is smoothed out, it's become even better for bolt throw. Bolt head here, really want to pay attention to these lock and load recesses. We have a little bit of rounding over and peening here on the closing portion of the action. So as the bolt rotates into position, we can see we've got a little bit of peening on each bolt lug. And it's not a lot, it's just enough to notice, and it is shiny obviously because it is wearing on the internal surfaces of the action. It's well seasoned. I've not seen any further degradation. This has been this way since about the 200 round mark. We will keep an eye on it. I don't think it's of any concern. I've not been running high pressure loads through this thing, but it is something to keep in mind. Next up, the striker assembly. There is not a whole lot going on here that takes a lot of talking. You can disassemble this further. I found no need to during the ownership of the rifle. You can see there are some spots that have gone into the white, but there is nothing concerning. If we put it onto the bolt head, we can see that we are stopping on the actual nut, the base of the firing pin, and not the tapering of the firing pin point. See, that is our maximum protrusion there. And it's a pretty good looking bolt, all things considered. I really don't see any problems with it, and we experienced no issues whatsoever. Inside the action, there's not a whole lot going on. It's pretty dang slick, but there's not a lot of whitening and finish removal, which is pretty nice. One thing I will note is that with PMags, the bolt throw, you do have to pretty much set the cartridge directly on top of the feed lips or already partially insert it into the chamber in order for this to not hang on the chamber mouth and end up jamming the bolt. So that is something to be aware of, but it's not a big deal. If you're feeding directly out of the magazine, it's fine. If you're using a metal lip mag that positions the cartridge with a little bit of a high nose profile, just dropping into the action and closing shouldn't be a problem, but it has been something I've encountered over time with the rifle. Reassembly is the exact opposite. Drop the bolt in. It does have an index key. Big end with slot on the opposite side. Slot is perpendicular to the travel bolt body. Wiggle that around, get it pushed down in. You can use your thumb to turn that just perfectly, and then you can reinsert the striker assembly so that it is facing the bolt handle on the top. If you still have your stock up, you can just reinsert into the rifle, push it almost all the way forward. Again, striker goes in with the top of the striker right here in a little notch at the top of the bolt handle. Push in, turn to left, let it click, goes down. Beautiful. The trigger on this is a trigger tap. I have not removed this rifle from the stock since I received it. It is not wiggled or jiggled at all. There's been no point for me to. And the trigger tap that's in it, the tension screw can be accessed from the trigger guard itself, and I have turned it all the way down. It's right at about 1.5 to 2 pounds right now. Very, very clean. Somewhat lighter. This uses a Remington 700 footprint and a trigger hanger system, so you can equip it with what you see fit. All in all, I find this to be an excellent rifle. I've very much enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to using it more in the future and chasing a little bit better accuracy, perhaps, as well as learning to be a better shooter myself. Anyhow, I really believe that this rifle has a ton of potential and is very much capable of making plenty of folks happy. You're just going to have to make sure that your expectations are realistic when picking up this rifle, and I think sub-MOA, sub-3/4 MOA, regardless of the model, is fairly realistic. But if you're expecting custom level performance, I would walk in with that expectation. Overall, fantastic rifle, seems to be durable, fit and finish is excellent. I'm really happy with this gift that was from my wife, and it's a fantastic suppressor host as well. So regardless of the cartridge that you want it chambered in, and the model, whether you're looking for a hunting focus, PRS focus, or a general purpose rifle, I think it fits the bill just fine as an out of the box, and the action has a lot of potential for customization. As always, guys, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment section down below, or you can email me at AmericanArmsChannel@gmail.com. I really appreciate your viewership, guys. Stay tuned. We'll be taking a look at this rifle in the future. God bless. Keep your powder dry. I'll see you in the next video.